everyone. Welcome to the Ask Dr. Be Good podcast, where we talk about things that are going on in public education. We try to shine a light on the positive things that help our students become productive citizens. One of the things that we in the charter world have to contend with is oftentimes we have people who don't quite understand our charter environment. They don't understand that the charter world was actually begun by a legislative statute, and it was an answer to a call for parents who wanted more school choice. And so 23 odd years ago, we had, during the George Bush administration, a law that was enacted giving open enrollment charter schools the ability to bring innovative instructional practice to our parents across the state of Texas. Since then, our not so regulated world has become more regulated due to the sometimes sincere belief by legislators that they're doing the right thing by adding some more regulation to our charter world. Now we are knee-deep in the 86th legislative session in Austin, and that began in January, by the way, January 8th, and it concludes May 27th, unless, of course, there's a special session. And this happens every 2 years, where our legislators get together and they look at needed tweaks or additions to the laws to make Texas a better place to live and to work. One of the things that we're finding in our charter world is because we have so many new legislators, we oftentimes come up against a lack of understanding about our legislative purpose in the charter world. And so we have learned to become better advocates for the charter movement by helping our legislators understand us better and understand our purpose and our effect that we're having on students. So becoming an advocate for anything, in this case it's charter schools, sometimes takes some training. And so that's what we're going to do here today. We're going to talk about how you as parents, staff, and stakeholders of the charter movement can become better advocates for our charter movement and help your legislators know your opinion and hear your voice around certain bills that you think are good for the charter movement and that you think are not so good. So we have a couple of people that will be joining us today. The first one is Starlee Coleman. She is the CEO of the Texas Charter School Association, and she has quite an impressive resume, but let's just say that she has quite a bit of national charter experience, and she is a new addition to our Texas Charter School Association, but has brought a lot of energy and knowledge around how to become and how to train us to become better advocates during this time. So let's hear from Starlee.
Go. Hi there, I'm Starlee Coleman, the CEO of the Texas Charter Schools Association. We just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that this year is a legislative session year in Austin. And you know, when the legislature is in session, there's a lot of good and a lot of bad that can happen for charter schools across the state. This year, we're under a lot of pressure at the Texas Legislature. There are a lot of bills that would bury charter schools in red tape, cut our funding, and even limit our ability to grow and expand. And it's really important to us this year that charter schools all across the state of all types and sizes engage with lawmakers and make sure that you're connecting them with parents and teachers and students who can talk about the great things that charter schools are doing for public education in Texas. We need all of the voices. We need everyone. This is an all hands on deck legislative session. We're facing 40 different pieces of legislation that are bad for charter schools, and we're not going to make it out of this session without everyone pitching in and telling your story and talking about the positive things that are happening at charters across Texas. So please engage with us. Visit our website, txcharterschools.org, to learn more about how you can engage with lawmakers and connect them with parents and students and your teachers who can tell great stories about the work you're doing.
Starlee was in Dallas today, and I was able to chat with her and grab a few minutes of her time so that she could impart her sense of urgency and the importance of all of you taking away strategies from today and making sure you implement them so that we can get your voice heard around these upcoming charter bills. So to help us learn how to do that, we're going to now talk with Michael Aguilar. He is the TCSA Regional Engagement Manager for Central Texas, and he also was in Dallas. He's currently driving back to Central Texas, but he has graciously pulled over and said that he would chat with us. So, Michael, are you on?
Hello, Dr. Good. I am here.
All right, Michael. Well, thank you. First of all, tell us a little bit about your job. Welcome to TCSA. I know that you are you recently came to us, so tell us a little bit about your background and then talk to us about what we can do to become stronger advocates for the charter movement.
Sure. So thank you for having me on today. I'm really excited to get to talk to your audience, and I'm pulled over here in Waco, and it's a beautiful day out here today, so it's good to be able to take some of this in. So my job with the Texas Charter School Association, like you said, I am the Regional Engagement Manager for Central Texas. Right now, I am on loan to San Antonio and Dallas as well. The Charter School Association is growing, and we're hiring people for those cities so that that somebody could be there to focus on them the way that I'm going to be focusing on Austin and Round Rock areas. So we are growing all the time. But what I do in this role is I am the point of contact for charter school leaders, parents of charter school students, and teachers at charter schools in Central Texas for any kind of advocacy-related issues. So, for example, our CEO, Starlee Coleman, mentioned the challenges that we're facing in this legislative session. We at the Texas Charter School Association have a presence at the state capitol every day. We have a team of people that are there representing the interests of charter schools and ensuring that the 40 bad bills that are currently filed in the session, we're making sure that there's a voice standing up for charter schools. So I serve as the point of contact for the people who are at the charter schools and the surrounding communities of people who support charter schools. So I work to get them engaged. I work to plug people into the legislative process. And I serve as the first step in that education process of teaching people how to get involved in advocacy, as well as teaching people and informing people of what's going on at the Capitol.
So you have a special interest in charters. Can you talk a little bit about your background? And you told a great story about your dad today.
Sure. So I grew up in a smaller town in Colorado called Pueblo. And, I grew up in a pretty bad neighborhood. It's a less than desirable place. And unfortunately, like many, bad neighborhoods, the local traditional district schools were a reflection of that. And it was something that my siblings went through. My siblings all attended the neighborhood schools that are, around my childhood home. And it wasn't until I was a little older, I was about 6 years old going into the first grade, that a charter school opened in Pueblo, Colorado called Cesar Chavez Academy. And my mom made the choice to take a chance on this new school because it offered smaller class sizes, individualized attention, and a challenging curriculum. And it offered a way out of the standard system that so many people in my neighborhood have had no choice but to go through. So my mom put me in those schools. I attended Cesar Chavez Academy from 1st through 12th grade, and I credit these schools for saving my life. If I would have went through the traditional public school system that was in my neighborhood, I feel like I would be a very different person today than I am. And it's because of that I'm so passionate about charter schools and school choice, and why I'm so committed to helping charter schools grow, and why I'm so passionate about defending them, because charter schools gave a kid like me a way out of a cycle that nobody should be forced to be caught into. And I am so energized when it comes to defending charter schools, because I know little kids just like me all over the state of Texas and really all over the country, they depend on it. They depend on charter schools to be, and they depend on us to speak up for them, to have a better shot at life. So I'm very, very passionate about it, and I'm excited to be here today.
So your dad
Oh, yes. Sorry. So my dad works at my school. He did when I was a kid, and now he works there in a different capacity, but he's still there. I gave an example today in Dallas at the meeting of how my dad really isn't a political person. He's a very hard worker, and he minds his business, and I think he's always kind of seen politics as a waste of time. But something caught his attention, and it was in a newsletter that his school's executive director forwards to all the staff. And what it was a story in the local newspaper, and with a direct quote from a local politician who said that if they could or if they had the ability and if they could choose, they would choose to shut down charter schools tomorrow. And that's something that caught my dad's eye, not only because I went to charter schools, but because he works at one. So hearing a prominent politician from his hometown say that if he could, he would close charter schools altogether the next day, that caught his attention because that's his livelihood just as much as it is anybody else who works at those schools. But additionally, it's the school that his kid went through, and that's just something very important to understand, that listening to how the politicians speak about charter schools is very important, because now my dad won't vote for anybody unless he knows their position on charter schools, and it's caused him to pay much more attention to politics overall. But now he will ask people, when they're campaigning for their vote, or when people come and knocking on his door, well, what's your position on charter schools? Because he's obviously a charter school supporter, but that's also his livelihood. So I'm happy that my dad is at least, even if it's a one issue, his issue is charter schools, and I'm happy about that.
Well, it was a wake-up call for your dad, as this is a wake-up call, we hope, for many of you who will be listening today. We want to make sure this podcast gets pushed out to all charter school stakeholders so that they can hear your strategies, your tips, and start implementing them. We have got to hear their voices. And here's why I shared the story today in the meeting, and that was, I go down to Austin quite a bit, and I go into legislators' offices and shake hands and share charter information, and sometimes debunk myths that are out there. Unfortunately, new legislators do not get training in charters. They come oftentimes with beliefs that were planted in their heads from ISD people. And so it's part of my responsibility. But here's what I will tell you I've noticed. When I go into a legislator of whom I am a constituent, their eyes light up in a way that they don't light up if I'm not. And so that really caught my attention. We really have got to get constituents to be the ones telling the story about why they should vote a certain way, not just charter operators going down because the school happens to be in their legislative area. It's got to be the constituents. It's got to be staff. It's got to be parents. Love to, the kids should be sending them thank yous for serving us. They should be hearing from charter schools in many different ways. So Michael, start telling us what should we be asking our charter stakeholders to do?
Well, as Starley said, this session has 3 unique challenges. We're facing a lot of addition to the red tape that charter schools are going to be having to operate under. We're facing threats to cuts to funding, which we already know charter schools aren't funded to the same level that traditional public schools are. And we're also facing challenges that would severely limit charter schools' abilities to grow, and in some cases completely shut down the ability for new charter schools to open, and for existing charter schools to expand. So we really need every voice, every single charter school supporter, teacher, operator, we need everyone's voice to be engaged in this session, and we need them to help the Texas Charter School Association when we're at the Capitol. We need them to help us tell their stories. And even if it's just sending an email or writing a text message, those two things, especially when it's being directed at their legislator, those two things have a huge impact. And we really, really need every voice. And I know I've said this a couple of times, but I can't stress it enough. And a simple way to get engaged with TCSA is to text the word count me in. It's all one word, count me in, to the number 52886. And you'll get a link to follow from TCSA. And that link will take you to a sign-up sheet where you can enter your information, your name, phone number, and address, as well as the school that you're most associated with. And that will allow us to push out alerts to you when we really need you the most. And I understand that a lot of people are hesitant to give out their phone number, or they're hesitant to sign up for a texting campaign. And I totally get it, because I often get those spam calls about car insurance and everything else you can imagine. But we really don't push anything out unless we truly need it. And I think that, during a legislative session, it's going to be a little more frequent. But even then, I would be surprised if we pushed out more than, one a week or two a week, because we don't want to make it spam. We really just want to alert you when it's time to get involved. So that's the simplest way that people can get involved with TCSA and our efforts at the Capitol to defend charter schools. But if you want to get even more engaged, there's plenty of ways to do that. And you don't need to be in Austin. You don't need to be at the Capitol. What you can do is, if you have 5 parents that that are willing to stand up for your kid's school, all you got to do is get those 5 parents in a room, invite TCSA out there, work with your school. We don't need a professional room. We can do it in a classroom. We can do it in a cafeteria, in the gym. We can even host a class outside if the weather permits. And what we'll do is I will travel to wherever you are, whether you're in San Antonio, Dallas, or somewhere in between. We have Sri Medlock, who will help you out in Houston. And if you're somewhere else in the state, we will get to you. What we can do is we will host a class that'll teach you the very basics of advocacy, why charter schools need people to advocate for them, and how to do that advocacy work in whatever capacity you can. So if you're not in Austin, and if you don't have time to go to Austin, you can help us out by simply sending out an email. You can get on the phone and call your legislators. You can send a text message to your legislators. And if you were able to recruit parents, recruit teachers, community supporters, whomever it may be that supports charter schools, and you're able to activate them as well, that is huge. And I say that, we need to recruit as many people as we can, because numbers matter. The more people that are reaching out to their lawmakers, especially if they're constituents of those lawmakers, the better, because we know that people are working against the charter schools at the Capitol every single day, and they get their people to write letters, they get their people to make phone calls, they get their people to send an email. So if the lawmakers are hearing from one side only about all these myths about charter schools, and then there's no one else there to counter those points, we're not doing our job, and we can't blame the legislator for believing some of these myths about charter schools that are circulated. So if we want people to know the facts, and we want people to know the truth, and if we want even our side to be presented, we have to get engaged. And like I said, TCSA has a really great program engineered to train parents on how to do that. And wherever you are in the state, we can meet you where you are and get you engaged.
So here's what I heard. I heard that we can text count me in, it's all no spaces, count me in to 52886, which I'll put in the Facebook post. I don't know if I can put it in on the YouTube, but that's easy enough to remember. You don't have to be in Austin.
Nope.
You'll come up, or somebody will come up and teach Advocacy 101 to the schools. And then you're happy to do one school or do a multiple of schools. We talked about that in the meeting, and we agreed on a date in the Dallas area to meet. So we can also have our parents call or send emails. And if you're a little bit shy, here's what I will give you a little secret. You can call the numbers of your legislators after hours. Most of them have voicemails, and you can leave your message. I didn't do that on purpose. It just so happened I had something I was passionate about. I wanted them to know. I was thinking about it at 6 a.m. I knew that I had a busy day, and I went ahead and thought, well, let me see if I can just leave a message. And it counts. People, they have to listen. And so I thought, although I'm not shy to talk, but maybe other people who, maybe if that's the only way, then that's what you do. Then you call after hours and leave a message. Tell them who you are, because that's why, and they need to know that you're a constituent. That's important, and because you have more power when you're a constituent of theirs. Okay, and then there's an April 2nd opportunity. Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Sure. So on April 2nd, which I believe is next Tuesday, the House Committee on Public Education is going to be meeting, and Chairman Huberty has said that all charter school bills are going to be heard, both the good bills and the bad bills. Like I said, there's 40 bad bills alone. So this is going to be one heck of a meeting if every single charter school bill is heard. But this is a very good opportunity for charter school supporters to get engaged for the very first time. And the easiest way, like I said, is to text that number. Text count me in to 52886. Once you text that number, you can text the word elected to that same number, and it'll show you who your representatives are, both in the House, the Senate, and the State Board of Education. And just like that, you have the people who represent you in Austin right in the palm of your hand. And you can send them an email, you can send them a text message, or you can give them you can make a phone call to them in their office and either leave a message like you suggested, or talk to the receptionist as they answer the phone. And all you need to do is voice your support for charter schools. TCSA is going to be having an email drafted out. As soon as we find out what exactly is going to be heard in that committee hearing, once we find out the details, we're going to draft an email out. We're going to send that to the school CEOs, the superintendents, and the principals, so that they are in the loop. And then we're really relying on those charter school leaders to forward that email to everyone that they possibly can. Everyone in their network should hopefully get that email. And that email will have a link in it that all you have to do is click it, and it'll take you to a page where you type in your name and your address, and we will sort that out and send it to your representative. And if your representative is on the House Public Education Committee, that's even more important. So that is probably that is the most pressing issue coming up immediately in the Texas Legislature as far as charter school priorities go, is that Tuesday morning on April 2nd.
So I know that if you can send people there, even if it's just to fill out the form that says you're for or against the proposed bill, you do have to do that in Austin, unfortunately. I wish that there was the ability to just go to the representative or the senator's home location, but unfortunately not yet. If you can send a team, parents, a staff member down to Austin April 2nd, be there by 9 o'clock, and do one of two things. You fill out the form that says you're for or against it, and then also you can sign up to speak on it, correct?
That is correct. So you can definitely sign up to speak either in favor of or opposition to whatever bill is being heard. TCSA will have a team there for sure to voice our position on the bills. But it's hearing from TCSA is not nearly as effective on some of these lawmakers as it is to hear from constituents of their district. So as much as TCSA will be there, we need your help. I can't even put it into words how much.
I get it.
It's so important to get your lawmakers to hear from you. It really is.
Well, Michael, I thank you, and you've said it very well, and I appreciate you pulling over and taking the time to spend talking to us about a miniature advocacy 101. There's lots more that goes with this training, but we wanted to at least get people thinking in that direction and starting to implement some of the things that you suggested. For example, the getting in the texting loop with the 5886 number, the getting a team down to Austin April 2nd, next Tuesday, inviting TCSA up to hopefully not only train your parents and staff, but also if you could cluster up with other charters in your area, that would be much more effective as far as the amount of voices heard and being able to train many at the same time.
Exactly, and learning from each other. Exactly,
because there's some things that, even though I know that we at our district have been advocating for the last 3 sessions, I love hearing what is going on at other districts that I haven't thought about as far as advocacy is concerned. So you're exactly right. So our call to actions are clear. Get in the texting loop. Start making calls and emails to your legislators. Send a team to Austin April 2nd. Invite legislators to come to your campuses. That we didn't mention that one. Make sure that you have an opportunity to get your kids' voices down there. We have some legislators who absolutely don't care for charters because they base their opinions on incorrect information. What if we were to really regularly send happy notes from our charter kids to these legislators? What if the valedictorians and the salutatorians were able to send letters of how their charter made a difference to them in comparison to the neighborhood school? I mean, I think over time we might be able to crack a little bit of their hearts and opinions about charters. But for now, there is a sense of urgency. There's 2 things that need to be going on at the same time, the long game and the short game. The short game right now is what we talked about, but there's a long game. Don't forget that one either. All right. Well, thank you, Michael. We'll let you keep driving to back to San Antonio. And in the meantime, everyone, I hope that you will share this podcast with your staff, with your parents at PTO meetings, with other superintendents who might not have heard it. But let's get the message out, and we'll see you down in Austin April 2nd.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ask Dr. Be Good show. For more information on Legacy Preparatory Charter Schools, visit our website, legacypca.com, or call 469-249-1099. And remember to like us on Facebook, where we stream live weekly Tuesdays at 3 p.m.